What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video of the Point After podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the good old black shirts, Nebraska Cornhuskers. Shout out to our friend Cade Powell. If you're a true TPA fan, he's been on here with us once. I think that was for an NFL podcast, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
NFL.
But as always, joined by my co-host, co-Alabama fan, Matthew Smith. How's it going, buddy?
It's going, brother. It's going. Hey, this is always a fun one to talk about. We always look forward to this preview. Like Gage said, because of our good friend Cade Powell. So there's a lot of love between TPA and Nebraska. We always want them to do good. And last year, do you say that's good? Because, I mean, some games were good. Games were good.
Well, it's like I said earlier. Who were we talking about? Michigan State. I think where I said your record is not always a reflection of how good your team is.
Yep.
If you had to look up the definition of that, you're looking at Nebraska in 2021. 3-9, but 0-8 in one possession game. So I'll get to my prediction in just a little bit. I'm going to cover the offense for a second. Matt's going to cover the D. Then we'll get into the fun stuff. But just some points this year. You got a new OC. You got Mark Whipple, who I don't know Pitt's stats from last year. We ain't covered them yet, so I haven't looked them up into depth. But you're getting one hell of an offensive coordinator in Mark Whipple. You're also getting a new quarterback in Casey Thompson, who wasn't bad last year. He went back and forth with Hudson Card a little bit throughout the season. Transfers in. He'll be the immediate starter at Nebraska, replacing Adrian Martinez. So you get a quarterback coming in with an experience. You get a damn good OC, probably one of the best in college football. Scott Frost, if I'm not mistaken, fired basically everybody on his staff from last year, took a pay cut so that he could hire better staff. Scott Frost is all in on turning this thing around. He's got the staff to do it, and he's got the quarterback to do it now. You're returning 57% of your production on offense from last year, which I talked about this earlier with Oregon. Just because that number is low, you have transfer talent coming in with experience that can be an immediate impact. So it's different than what Clemson's looking at, where they're coming in with all freshmen and experienced out of high school guys. You're coming in with college guys that played last season, so that's going to help you a lot. Nebraska had the number 7 portal class. So, I mean, there's only 6 teams ahead of you. I think one was USC, one was Alabama. I think one was Notre Dame, possibly Ohio State. So you're up there in Nebraska, at least when it comes to the portal rankings. You got Marcus Washington transferring from Texas. I'm going to keep my eye on him for 2 reasons. One, because Nebraska isn't returning a lot of their receivers from last season, or a lot of their top production talent from last season. And it's a Texas and Texas connection. You got Casey Thompson, you got Marcus Washington. Marcus Washington's going to be Casey Thompson's favorite target by the end of the year. So keep an eye on him. And then Trey Palmer, who's a 3-star wide receiver out of LSU. So one SEC guy, one future quote-unquote SEC school again. Those are the 2 wide receivers I'm going to keep my name on, or keep my eye on. And those will probably be household names by the end of the season. So that's basically all I've got on this Nebraska offense. Like I said, they're not really returning a lot. It's going to be a lot of transfer play. Keep your eye on Casey Thompson. And they also had the number 41 recruiting class, which isn't terrible, especially given when you have schools that go full on all out in recruiting opposed to the transfer portal. So I think that number 7 portal class will do a lot of good stuff for Nebraska this season.
Yeah, especially returning off a 3-8 season and you get a top 50 recruiting class. Like you said, top 10 transfer class. So, hey, Nebraska, that's a big brand to rep. I think there's a lot of pride there, especially from the fans. And I think Scott Frost knows that. I respect the hell out of him for the decisions he's made. And I absolutely hope they turn things around. Engage like Michigan State, like we touched on in a video posted a couple days ago. Nebraska is going to return 4 of their top 5 leading tacklers from last year. Inside linebackers Luke Reamer and Nick Henrich. Outside linebacker Garrett Nelson, and cornerback Quentin Newsome. That's good news. Bad news is Quentin Newsome's only secondary person returning this year, which I think secondary was their stronghold last year. I think you saw their best performance against Nebraska, who that was a game me and you had mixed emotions about. Well, not really mixed emotions about, but didn't really like the way it turned out. Other than that, defensive line last year had a rebuilding year. You returned some guys this year. Tackle Ty Robinson, who's probably going to be the leading guys. Casey Rogers, who also had some experience last year. But, the him transferring last year, I think definitely doesn't reflect on how good the defensive line is going to be, even though you lose a guy of that caliber. Secondary, like I said, only returns Newsome. You got Miles Farmer, who has starting experience, and corner Braxton Clark, who have seen playing time, but like I said, no new guys, or all new guys except for Newsome. And defensive statistics last year weren't really the best. Nebraska was ninth in the Big Ten in terms of passing yards or points allowed. So doesn't, like you touched on, I don't know if you'd said it in before or after the video, but outscored. Give us that stat again.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was saving it. I didn't know if I wanted to save it for the when we talked schedule. I should have mentioned it earlier. Nebraska outscored, outran, and outthrew, I guess you would say, their opponents last year and still went 3-9. That's impressive. Not gonna lie, that's incredibly hard to do.
I wish I could see Cade's reaction the first time he ever saw that. 'Cause I'm sure he knew that as of last year. But, my final little guess here about the defense is that it's going to start up front. You're not playing Michigan State and Ohio State this year, so I think that's definitely a plus. But I think it's going to start up front, and you let Newsome work in the secondary, and you're returning 4 of your top 5 tacklers. So you can't really ask for much on the defensive side of the ball in terms of a new season and who's coming back. More than that, I think that's something to be excited about. And along with Clemson, not necessarily the same coaching. I guess you can say seat as Dabo Swinney, but I think it's do or die this year for Nebraska in terms of a winning season, especially for Scott Frost.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to their schedule, though, one thing that kind of sticks out to me is you really only have you have 5 road games, not counting the one in Dublin, Ireland. You play Michigan away, you play Iowa away, you play Purdue away, Rutgers away, and 5 counting the one in Dublin. So you have 8 home games this season essentially. Week number 4, that game against Oklahoma, that will make or break your season, in my opinion. You're gonna be. I've got you at 3-0 coming into that game. You're gonna hear Oklahoma, and a lot of people are gonna think, oh, it's Oklahoma. Oklahoma's gonna have this in the bag. Nebraska was 3-9 last season. Nebraska was 0-8 in one possession games last year. You're literally talking a ball bounces a different direction in 4 of those, and they finished the season 7-5. So records again don't always mean everything. Or if you win that game, you play Indiana, Rutgers, Purdue's not a bad team, Illinois. Like, you're looking at a solid 8-4 season if you're Nebraska. If you lose that game, you could very well just as easy finish 5-7. That's just the way I see this. Like, the Big Ten isn't elite talent all across the board this year, but they're good. I feel like a lot of these teams are very, very evenly matched. I've got Nebraska finishing at 8-4. I've got their loss to Michigan, and then I've got them 50-50 toss-up games with Iowa, Wisconsin, and Oklahoma. Now, I say that, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I feel like they could just as easily drop a game at Purdue. They could drop a game versus Minnesota. They could drop a game against Northwestern. I mean, you're playing in Ireland. I don't even want to know what time that is locally. That's just, I feel like this season could be very good or mediocre at best for Nebraska.
Yep, I'm with you, Gage. I think Nebraska is one of those. It's kind of obvious, but at the same time, there's a lot of upside, a lot of stuff that can happen, a lot of magic, and I think that they definitely have a winning season this year. I'm thinking 7-5, 8-4 as well. Same teams as you, Wisconsin, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Iowa. Sorry, and then my 50-50 games. The only reason I have Northwestern on there is because it's on the other side of the world, and then Purdue. I think at Purdue is going to be a really tough game. I imagine that's going to be a night game. So, if Nebraska gets a win against Oklahoma, week 5 or week 4, and roll into Purdue at night, that's going to be a big game. I think that might even be a primetime ABC game or Fox game. So we'll see. I'm thinking 7-5, 8-4 though.
My biggest thing is if Nebraska has what would seemingly be a down year to the casuals, a 6-6 year. Oh, fire Scott Frost. Like, no, you went 3-9 last year. You had a top 40 recruiting class. I think there were 41st.
Yeah, new coaching staff.
Number 7 in the transfer portal. Like, I don't think you understand how hard it is to get transfers nowadays.
Especially with NIL.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely incredible. And really, if it wasn't for Alabama, signing basically the best 5 at all 5 positions, you would have had the number 6 class. So if you're a Nebraska fan and you're sitting here in the middle of November and you're 6-3, or 5-3, whatever it is, don't panic thinking, oh, we still got Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, we're going to finish 6-6. Like, you very well could, but you also kind of have to go into those games thinking, okay, we're playing at Michigan in late November. That's going to be a hostile environment. If you win, great, but I wouldn't go in there with the expectations of winning that game. Wisconsin's going to be a dogfight. Iowa's going to be a dogfight. Like, I'm just predicting what we're going to see here. If Nebraska finishes 6-6 or something along those lines, it's everyone's calling for Scott Frost's head, and I don't think it should be that way. Like, Scott Frost has been there 2 years. This is season 3, I think.
Right.
Like, obviously he's underperformed, hasn't lived up to expectations, hasn't lived up to what you want him to be at Nebraska. But getting rid of him after year 3, after he becomes bowl eligible again, after turning around literally completely 180 from what he did last season, that's still a good season. Don't look at it as 6-6 as a bad season. Like, 6-6 can still be a very good year for you.
Yep, I agree. And the Big Ten's not an easy conference to play in, so.
Exactly. That's my biggest thing. Is like I said, like, you have Ohio State, you have Michigan, who's a tier above the rest of the Big Ten, but we've mentioned this before with the SEC. Like, if there's 3 tiers in the Big Ten, 10 of those 12, 14, however many schools it is, are all on that same tier. Like, it's very, very even playing field. And you can say Nebraska was 3-9 last year. They're in that bottom tier. They're not. They're right there with Wisconsin and Iowa and Minnesota, who was ranked last season. Like, it's very, very even across the board. And if you don't realize that, then a 6-6 season will look like a failure to you, when in reality it's the complete opposite of that.
Gage, I'm definitely going to tell you right now, I'm going to take Nebraska to cover the spread on September 17th. Might even take the money line.
Yeah, I don't know what I've got planned that day, but at 11 a.m. I'm on the couch. I'll make damn sure of it. So, But any last words on Nebraska?
GBR, Kate, I hope they turn the season around for you and my man Dwayne Wade, who's also a Nebraska Cornhusker fan. So go Big Red. Let's see some magic this year.
Go Big Red. If anyone's got extra tickets to that September 17th game, we'll put the P.O. box somewhere in this video and ship us to. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button and go Big Red.